suckling on the teat of tech with Paul Brislen and Wammo on Kiwi.
Well, let's talk high-tech. Paul Brislen, our high-tech correspondent, audit.wordpress.com. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well. Looks like you've had a pretty exciting week this
I
week.
have. I have. I don't get out much, but when I do, I like to go to town.
You certainly do. I got the tail end of some nights because you can spend the night with anyone via Twitter.
Well, you can, can't you?
Yeah.
And live vicariously.
You can.
And get into trouble vicariously as well. Yeah, so I went to the Starship Children's Hospital fundraiser at the Vector Arena, the swing evening.
Swing evening.
You've got to be careful how you say that, because
Yeah.
it's not a swingers evening.
Right.
It's a swing evening.
Yeah, okay.
And Lucy Lawless and Peter Ehrlich and a whole raft of well-known people were there doing their thing, and we were fed and watered, and a good time was had by all, including me, who, of course, like to share with the Twitterverse and tell everybody what's going on.
It sounded like you were just having a fanboy moment there.
Well, I bumped into Lucy Lawless at one point, and to my shame, I did not say, "Lucy, Battlestar Galactica, you rule." Thanks for building a Cylon who has a Kiwi accent. I loved that to bits. And I didn't. I chickened out because, I'd had some to drink, and she looked very busy.
And it wasn't about Xena, it was about Battlestar.
It was about Battlestar Galactica,
Okay.
because let's face it, that's one of the best science fiction shows ever to come out of the States, and I didn't really want to talk about how naked she gets in Spartacus, so it didn't seem appropriate, really. Also, I'm a big girl's blouse, I chickened out, but I told everybody I chickened out.
And by telling everyone, you were telling all your followers on Twitter.
Well, under the Vodafone NZ username, yes. So there was a little bit of pushback from one chap in Wellington who felt that if it's a corporate account, it should surely purely be about corporate PR. And I said, don't be silly. This is social media, and if you're going to put the social in social media,
Yeah.
it should be a two-way thing. And quite frankly, I got a lot of positive responses from just about everybody else out there who was following, wanting me to go and ask her about Spartacus, go and ask her, and then a variety of other suggestions, none of which are repeatable, really.
Yeah.
So it was a great night, and I hope Starship raised a lot of money. The guys from Opshop were there, and various other people. It was all a bit of a blur. Suddenly it was midnight, and I turned into a pumpkin.
Sounds like the Music Awards, which is happening on October the 8th there as well.
Well, that's right, and that will go off as well. I
Yeah.
think that will be bigger than Ben-Hur, and I would fully expect that we would be required by law to Twitter from that, since we're a big sponsor of it.
Exactly.
So, yes, we'll see how we get on.
Well, so that's interesting, because so there is someone in Wellington who expects a corporate Twitter name to only have PR speak, which would be a reason for me not to follow.
Which would make me feel ill, quite frankly. And as I said to him, look, this is not about corporate PR speak. This is about community. And if you're going to build a social community, you actually have to be involved. It's not a sales channel. It's not a support channel. It's not a mouthpiece channel. It's all of those things and a lot more. And if you try to restrict it to one or the other, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's out there and is thinking about getting into social media, if anybody tells you you're doing it wrong, laugh in their face, because, I'm sorry, but there are no rules. We're making it up as we go along.
And for those who aren't on Twitter, you're probably on Facebook, no doubt, because everyone else is. It's the same with Facebook pages. I mean, sure, you want to hear about whatever product that you're a fan of. Yeah. But if there was some personality on that page as well, you'd probably appreciate it. That's right.
And you take the personality out, and really there's no point in getting involved, because I can find out product info from the website, and I can get customer support from ringing the 0800 number, and there's got to be more to it than that. Otherwise, you're just making the same mistake over and over.
Absolutely. All right, and a big announcement on the New Zealand side of technology this week was TiVo being released in November.
Exactly. So TiVo is the original, I don't know if it was the very first, but it's certainly the first big mass market personal video recorder, as they're known, PVR, which is basically a hard drive that sits under your TV and records television for you. Yeah. The beauty of TiVo is, of course, that it's very easy to use. It ties in with an electronic programming guide, so you never need buy the listener ever again. And you can record one show, you can record a series, and the little beast will start sitting there and thinking, well, he liked that Roma-Greek wrestling last week. We'll record something similar for him for next time. And off it'll go, and it'll record stuff it thinks you might like. TVNZ has bought into TiVo in a big way, probably because it's in this death match with Sky TV. And Sky, of course, has My Sky, which does all of this already. So it's bought into TiVo, it's brought it out, but they've got a bit of a twist on the tail, which is that the boxes, as I understand it, will be sold exclusively through Telecom. You have to sign up with Telecom's broadband service, and if you do that with your TiVo box, you'll get access to TiVo Online, where you can download movies and TV straight to your TiVo box using your broadband connection, and it'll be zero rated. That is, you won't be charged for the data.
Over my dead body, do I ever sign up with Telecom broadband ever again?
Well, since I work for Vodafone, I would highly encourage that, but I probably shouldn't comment on it.
But I say that from my personal experience over the years. My very first broadband account was with Telecom
Absolutely.
Extra.
Mine as well.
But
100 megabytes of data a month for about $190, I think.
I eventually moved on because the customer service was appalling. And at one point, I mean, this is just my personal experience. The customer service rep that I was talking to lied to me once, so that was
that never helps, does it?
That burned me.
That's suboptimal
for life. For life.
Yeah, and people do have long memories for such things. It would take something quite dramatic to get you back, I would imagine.
Yeah. So
from that point,
therefore, I'm never going to have a TiVo experience.
Well, and I find that quite odd. The TiVo would go down the track of tying in with one ISP. Exclusively like that. So if I do move ISPs, suddenly my television doesn't work. I just don't get that. That strikes me as being counterintuitive. You want the TiVo box should be like a cell phone on your network. That is, if I move networks, I can take it with me and use it on another network because I've bought the hardware outright. It's mine. I can do what I want with it.
Yeah.
If I want to use it as a paperweight instead, that's fine too. But this idea that somehow I then have to have a service with a particular ISP that may not meet my needs, that strikes me as being a bit short-sighted. Surely,
and I guess with your Vodafone harness on slightly here, although I don't know how much you could say, but surely TiVo, they must have gone to all the broadband providers and said, can we have an agreement where the downloads on TiVo do not count against your data cap?
Right, and I don't know. I'm delighted to say if they did come here, I wasn't involved in the conversation, so I can't tell you from the Vodafone perspective on that one. But I know that Orcon's already doing this with its TV service because it's one of those things. It gets quite tricky when you're talking about when you're downloading data. It's just data, but when you're downloading a movie, we already have an expectation of what that will cost. It's $6, and that's straight from the video store. You can't suddenly turn around and try to introduce the data billing model for it because it just doesn't work. You end up rapidly running out of capacity. But, I can well imagine they have spoken to other ISPs, but in the fixed line world, Telecom is 60 to 70% of the market, and it controls the wholesale market as well in New Zealand. So if you're not on Telecom, you're probably on Telecom, but under a different retail brand.
Right.
So that will have an impact, I would imagine, on the price that the ISPs have to pay Telecom for wholesale, because up until now, you've never been able to get unlimited data as a wholesale product. Presumably now they'll be offering it at that kind of level as well. So maybe this is going to open the floodgates for similar services from other providers.
Well, and hopefully, but other providers like Xbox, which is going to be rolling out movies on demand later on this year as well.
Well, exactly.
Hopefully this isn't a model for Microsoft to just go with one ISP.
And try and lock you in that way. That does seem to me to be a bit short-sighted because customers don't like being forced into a box. And as you say, at a time where suddenly you've got television being provided by a broadband provider or by a games company or by a software developer or whoever it is, surely that's a time where you should be opening up the gates, not trying to narrow them down.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it certainly is. Well, $8.99 is also a price that I don't think I will be paying anytime soon for.
No, that is quite a bit, isn't it? What's the Sky box? That's about half that price for my Sky Plus, of course, 2 years on, you get to hand it back and say, I'll have the newer version, thanks.
Yeah, and there was also a study recently, we're going to wrap this up, but there was also a study recently that said that New Zealanders, even though they own My Sky boxes, aren't embracing the time shifting of TV. They're still just watching the
same thing, whatever's being pumped out to them. Yeah. I mean, that's a cultural thing. You've got to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, interesting stuff.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul Brislen, you'll find his blog at audent.wordpress.com.